with another why video. Today we are going to have another little peek into some obviously whys, and I wanted to talk to you today about the hierarchy of fat loss again, and that thing that's at the very top, which is lifestyle forward slash hormones. Because if those are out of sync, then the diet and nutrition doesn't really matter because it's not going to work. Okay, now I learned about this through I actually know a fair bit about the endocrine system, which is the hormonal system. And I first learned it from a guy called Charles Poliquin and his biosignature model. Now, this is based on body fat, areas of body fat being linked with hormone levels in the blood. And that the measurements in each area matched up. It's based on 20 years of research, and personally, when I do one-to-one training, the results are badass. Now, the problem that we've got with this programming isn't that with lots of group programs that I can't assess everyone individually with body fat calipers, because that takes like 20 minutes on its own. And obviously you have to be there pinching people's fat and things. So there's three main hormones that people have problems with, and to be honest, all of the hormones are linked anyway. So if you take care of usually 2 or 3 of them, then they're all very much linked. For instance, the main ones that we're going to look at today are insulin, cortisol, and estrogen. So if cortisol's high, which is the stress hormone, then estrogen is low. Sorry, if cortisol's high, then testosterone is low. If testosterone's low, estrogen's high. If estrogen's high, then the thyroid can't work properly, and that leads to all sorts of blood sugar problems. So, again, neither diet or nutrition matter if your hormones are out of sync. And remember this, I'll show you this graphic again. This here, my friends, is the fat loss hierarchy. So correct nutrition, and then all of the training, which is going to actually be the next video that I shoot for you guys. So right up here is lifestyle and the endocrine system. Let's get my other thing back up. We shall have a little bit of a chat. Okay, so it's the three we're going to look at mainly. I mean, there are other ones obviously, but cortisol, estrogen, and insulin. So the things we're using to deal with cortisol is this. We're basically removing toxic food and allergens first, because that just stresses the digestive system, which stresses your body. If you put diesel in a petrol engine, you guys know what happens. One of the main things we need to do to improve cortisol is actually increase sleep, because that increases growth hormone, which is also linked to cortisol. You know what it's like when you're tired, right? You end up stressed, everything's a hassle. So your body ends up producing more cortisol, and the adrenal glands ends up all over the place because you tend to rely on caffeine as well when you're tired. So we brought cold baths in to improve sleep, and some of the food stuff is actually going to improve sleep as well. Which is why I encourage you to train at night time and have carbs in sometimes in your evening meal. Yeah, because that can improve sleep also. Carb cycling helps, because if we can improve insulin sensitivity, we can increase the body's ability to deal with cortisol, because if cortisol is high, insulin is low. The problem with cortisol is that it actually leads to belly fat storage, because there's a big sheet of tissue that's over the abdominals, and it's called the greater omentum. The more cortisol you produce, obviously the body doesn't want cortisol in the bloodstream, so again it has to send it somewhere to be stored. Unfortunately, the fat cells around the greater omentum are more receptive to storing cortisol. Yeah, so that's why you very rarely see people who jog a lot with a six-pack. So I'm seeing that there. Now, spiking insulin post-workout. This is one of the reasons why I'm asking you to use a post-workout shake. And a little bit of glutamine, because glutamine doesn't cause a huge insulin spike. It actually replaces glycogen, which can help with cortisol as well. But protein still has an effect on insulin, because everybody's like, oh, it's only carbs that spike your insulin, but protein actually has an effect on insulin as well. So getting protein in post-workout when cortisol is high is good, because if we can spike insulin a little bit, then the cortisol will come down. I'm keeping the workouts shorter because cortisol increases after 45 minutes. Tulsi tea, highly recommended, brings cortisol down. However, the licorice tea does quite the opposite. The licorice actually increases cortisol slightly, but only if it's naturally rising anyway, which is why licorice tea is only allowed until 2. Now, this is great because a lot of people have their cortisol the wrong way around. If you're the type of person that can't switch off on a night time, because you're almost buzzing. Your brain won't switch off. Cortisol will probably be high. But then in the morning, you've got low energy. So you have low morning energy, high nighttime energy. That means that your cortisol's the wrong way around. So it's essential you get those herbal teas. Are very essential for you guys. Now, one of the things that I was key on is that some of it's just mental, okay? When you first start a new program, if you get everything up front, you'll stress about it, you'll get caught in paralysis by analysis, you'll drown in information, and you'll worry, okay? A lot of people can't lose weight because they simply just worry about losing weight, okay? If you don't think it'll work, guess what? It probably won't work, even though you follow it to the letter. If you don't think it's going to work, then it won't, okay? So I thought I need to drip feed you this information so you just follow it, okay? And teach you why you're doing it along the way. Fasting is also great because it takes away the fact that, I mean, a lot of people who push the 6 meals a day thing, which I used to be one of them until I learned a more effective way, and I learned that it actually didn't work. There's very little evidence to back up the 6 meals a day thing and that you should eat every 3 to 4 hours anyway. But the fact that the matter was, when I was training busy people, especially busy women, they were like, Paul, I can't eat every 2 to 3 hours. I'm too busy. My wife, when she's looking after Max, there's no way she can eat every 2 to 3 hours anyway. Even every 4 hours you can't, okay? So that whole thing's a myth. So fasting actually takes that out. So that's going to deal with cortisol for you as well. Now, stuff that we're using to deal with estrogen is we're cleansing, okay? Because remember what I was saying about the toxins? When the liver's overwhelmed with toxins, it can't do its job properly, so the toxins end up getting sent to the fat stores. Yeah? Now, the problem is also that the liver is responsible for producing things called sex hormone binding globulins. Okay, now these globulins actually go and clean up hormones from the bloodstream, specifically the sex hormones or the androgens, and these are estrogen and testosterone. Now, if the liver's very stressed out and very tired and can't do its job properly because of all the shit you're putting in, then they can't go and they can't produce enough. It can't produce enough sex hormone binding globulins. It can't produce ones that can do their job properly. So again, those hormones need to be sent somewhere to get them out of the bloodstream and to protect your body from these impurities. So, unfortunately for you ladies especially, that's lower body fat. Okay? Also, some foods are actually estrogenic, such as soya, such as the hops in alcohol, are very estrogenic. Coffee, especially instant coffee, is estrogenic. Okay? So if you're struggling with fat on your legs, you need to get that shit out. Green vegetables, especially watercress, broccoli, spinach, and sprouts, are full of what's called indole 3-carbinol, which is an indole. Now, this indole binds to estrogen, and it can help you excrete it, so basically speeds up detox. The green drink that I've got most of you guys on, Goodness Greens especially, is incredible for detoxifying estrogen. It's anti-estrogenic. Hydration is key. If you're not hydrated, your liver will struggle. Glutamine and a digestive enzyme are there to help out your digestive system. So if your digestive system's working properly, it can help out the liver. And fasting again. Yeah? Fasting, when you're fasting, your liver's obviously and your digestive system doesn't have to deal with the constant influx of food. So it actually gets a break to go and do some other things and it actually helps speed up detox, which is why you end up so thirsty. Yeah? So I need to drink a lot of water. So insulin. I'm just going to show you a quick thing on insulin, quick graphic on insulin. See if I can dig it up. There it is, a blood sugar model. Here's the deal. Insulin is the one thing that most people get wrong, you guys. This is one of the keys to fat loss. This with cleansing is amazing. With all the other things I've added in is amazing. Okay, it's as simple as this. Carbohydrates and sugar make you fat. Okay? Too much, that is. Okay, so here's what happens. You have low energy or you just crave carbohydrates. So you eat carbohydrates. Get a carbohydrate overload, so your blood sugar spikes. What happens here is the pancreas has to send out insulin to go and deal with this. Okay, and look at this. When your blood sugar when you get this sort of, this here, when you get the blood sugar spike, it's got to come down as well. Guess what happens there is cortisol is triggered. So you tend to feel like shit, and this is usually the point when you feel on a Sunday afternoon when you can't get off the settee after you've had Sunday lunch, or Christmas dinner when you just fall asleep on the settee. Yeah, so you get this hypoglycemia and rebound hypoglycemia, which then triggers cortisol. The pancreas releases insulin. You get an insulin spike, and the insulin spike actually opens up the fat cells and creates more triglycerides and that'll be stored as fat, especially around the love handles. Okay, that's insulin in a nutshell, nice and simple. Okay, let's get back to this slide. That's the wrong one. Where are we? So let's go back here. Let's look at what we're doing to deal with insulin. First of all, we're pretty much a low carb diet, but we're actually, as I said here, carb cycling. Carb cycling is great because carbs can be effective. Your body will get used to blood sugar being stable all of the time. So carb cycling is very effective for fat loss. Okay, because insulin can actually be used to add muscle. Okay, and it's key that you're not low carb all of the time. We want to improve your sensitivity to carbs. Have you ever noticed that some of your friends can eat whatever you want and not gain body fat? It's because the body's better at dealing with carbohydrates. And some of that's natural, but you can actually do that by improving your insulin sensitivity, and carb cycling is great for that. But most of your diet should be based around low carbohydrates if you're looking to drain body fat. It's actually low. We're taking out what I call refined carbohydrates, which is your pasta, your bread, your sugar, etc. There's actually still quite a lot of carbohydrates in this diet, but not high glycemic carbs that are going to spike the shit out of your insulin. Resistance training, so the weight training that you're doing will actually improve your insulin sensitivity. Fasting, the research on fasting and insulin sensitivity is superb, and glutamine is great because glutamine replenishes glycogen, helps restore the lining of the gut, helps with digestion, which is obviously going to improve insulin sensitivity as well. So again, nutrition and lifestyle trump any exercise in the hierarchy of fat loss. Okay, the next up, well, I'm actually going to talk about the training, why we're doing what we're doing, why it's so effective, why I'm choosing the exercises that I've chosen, etc., etc., and again, specifically why we're training twice a day and then having days off as well. Okay, so that's it for now. Any questions, you know what to do. Bang questions in the post below. Bye-bye.